Well, hello, friends. It's your pal Tom Picklefeather, here to tell you a story that's just for kids. Warning, not for children. Pulp fiction. Talking about how they were going to steal everybody's lunch money, which is a very nice thing to do. But we're going to come back to them. Now, quick warning: the story's probably going to go all over the place, but like I said, there's more than one way to tell a story. You don't always tell it from beginning to end. Sometimes you can just tell it all over the place. Anyway, we're going to skip to meeting two errand boys named Vincent and Jules. Now, they were on an errand where they had to scold some boys at a hotel who had taken some money from a Mr. Marcellus Wallace, who was their boss, which wasn't a very nice thing to do. And so they meet up with these gentlemen, and they talk to them, and they quote Bible verses. The good book has some good lessons, so maybe these boys could learn something. They end up, just making sure that the boys understand the lesson. They have a quick paintball fight with them, just to make sure, hey, maybe those dirty clothes remind you, don't steal from people. And then we're going to jump to another scene where Mr. Marcellus Wallace is talking to a guy named Butch. Butch is a boxer, and he's asking Butch, "Hey Butch, I was wondering, can you pretend to lose the fight that's coming up? Because the other boxer might feel bad, and I don't want him to feel bad." And so Butch said, "Sure, I can do that." Well, we're going to skip to another part. I know it gets a little confusing. Where Vincent, he's going to go buy some sugar. He really loves sugar. It makes him, for some people, sugar makes him a little more hyper. But for this guy, he buys a special kind of sugar, that makes him relaxed, makes him very relaxed, which kids don't do a lot of sugar. It's not good for you. Just everything in moderation, okay? But anyway, he goes and buys this sugar because Mr. Marcellus Wallace wants him to take his wife on a play date, which, how nice, because Mr. Marcellus Wallace, he's very busy. He's a very busy guy, so he doesn't always have time to play with his wife. So he sends his wife on a play date with Mr. Vincent. And so they go to a restaurant, and they have a grand old time. They dance, and they have good food, and they come back home where Mrs. Marcellus Wallace sees Vincent's sugar as he goes to take care of some business in the bathroom. When he comes back, he finds that Marcellus Wallace, his wife, she likes to smell sugar through the straw, which weird habit, but considering sugar don't have a smell, but hey, people have their hobbies. She thought it was going to make her more energetic and fun, but this was the wrong kind of sugar. And this sugar made her very, very sleepy, to the point where Vincent couldn't wake her up, and he was afraid that she might need to go to the hospital. So he took her to his sugar dealer's house, and the sugar dealer was like, "Oh no, you gave she smelled the wrong sugar." So they gave her the right kind of sugar to wake her back up, and so everything was okay. So there was a bit of a scare there. Now we're going to jump back to Butch, who lied to Mr. Marcellus Wallace and ended up beating up the other guy and making him feel so bad he went to sleep. So Butch was like, "Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. I better leave town before Mr. Marcellus Wallace yells at me." And so he goes home to his wife, and they start packing up, getting ready to leave in the morning. And he remembers a time when he was a little boy, and a friend of his father's, his father had passed away, and he was in World War II. A friend of his father said had a watch to give him, and he's told him the story "Hey, your father hid this watch in a very special place to keep it safe. So I hid this watch in my own special place to keep it safe, so I can give it to you." And so that watch was very important to Butch. And unfortunately, when they were packing up, his wife forgot to pack up the watch. So Butch went back to their old apartment to find it, where he found Vincent. And Vincent had left his paintball gun on the counter. And so Butch said, "Hey, don't you chase me." And to make Vincent learn his lesson, he shot him with the paintball guns and made Vincent's clothes all dirty. Vincent's like, "Oh no, I'm not gonna chase you now. I gotta go clean my clothes." And so Butch started running away, and wouldn't you know it, he ran into Marcellus Wallace, and the two got into an argument, and their argument ended up in a pawn shop. And they were invited, and they didn't notice that when they were arguing in the pawn shop, that the man who owned the pawn shop tell them go to put them on timeout in the basement. And and he called his cop buddy. And so, as punishment, him and his cop buddy forced Mr. Marcellus Wallace to give him piggyback rides. Well, Butch was left with a fella named the Gimp, who was gonna force Butch to give him a piggyback ride. But Butch said, "No, I don't want to give no piggyback rides." And he yelled so loud and harsh at the Gimp that the Gimp was like, "Oh, okay, I don't want a piggyback ride." So Butch went to leave, but he felt bad leaving Marcellus Wallace because Marcellus Wallace was kind of bullied into giving piggyback rides. So he decided, okay, well, I'm going to help Marcellus Wallace. This is the right thing to do. So he found a metal stick and he shouted at the pawn shop owner and his friend, say, "Hey, Marcellus Wallace doesn't want to play with you." So Marcellus Wallace was saying, "Oh, well, thank you, Butch. I appreciate you. You know what? Just go about your business and I won't bother you." And Butch was like, "All right, thank you. I'm glad we patched things up." And so then we go back to Vincent and Jules, who are driving, and they're bringing one of the boys that stole Marcellus Wallace's money. That's a mouthful. Back to scolded by Marcellus Wallace. Well, Vincent was showing the boy his paintball gun, but unfortunately the paintball gun went off and made a mess of the back seat. So they had to stop at a friend's house and get this back seat cleaned up. And Jules decided after that, he was like, "Okay, well, you know what? I'm tired of getting dirty. I don't want to do errands no more." So they stopped at a restaurant, and Jules said, "Hey, you know what? I think I'm just going to retire from being an errand boy." Where they met the couple from the beginning, and the couple started stealing money. Jules, sorry, I was getting the characters confused. Jules said, "Hey, you need to stop doing that. That's not very nice." And so he gave him a couple Bible verses, and the couple was like, "You know what? You got a point there, Mr. Jules. We're going to stop our bad ways." So the couple ended up going home, and everybody lived happily ever after. That was quite a mouthful. But again, sometimes it's fun to tell a story in an unusual way, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you would be so kind, please comment another story you'd like me to tell. You'd like me to make it less spicy, and I'll do my best, and I hope you enjoy it. And while you're down there, if you could hit that notification bell, that'd be awful swell of you. And I just got to let you know I love you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.